Welcome to the Downtime from WTWH Media with your hosts, Sarah Wynn and Sheri Kasperzak, bringing you everything you need to know from the week in manufacturing.
And we're back for another episode of the Downtime. I'm Sarah Wynn with
Sheri Kasperzak, and thank you all so much for joining us on the Downtime. We're always happy to have you.
Sheri. This is the only downtime you need in your life, the only downtime you need on your line, the only downtime you need for your podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks as always.
Sheri, thank you. Do you want to set the table? What do we have on deck today?
Oh, we have a great episode ahead of us. So first of all, I just wanted to kick us off. If you did not listen to last week's episode of the Downtime, which you should be, we featured some amazing women in the trades. We featured Sushi, we featured Amber, Ashley, and Mia. And so I wanted to give a shout out to these amazing women. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you need to go back and have a listen. If you want to be inspired, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, it does not matter. We celebrated Women in the Trades Day in last week's episode, but if you want to be inspired, highly suggest you go listen to that episode, because I know I'm inspired. These women who have overcome obstacles to, be great in their fields. If you want to get hyped up and feel like you can push a mountain over, go listen to that episode. So that's my hype speech for the day. In this episode, we're going to be doing a deep dive into flexible packaging, courtesy of my girl, Sarah Wynn, and Packaging OEM. So you're going to want to stick around for that. We also have some big news out of Purdue Polytechnic Institute. I had a great conversation with Steve Music. He is the smart manufacturing engineer over at Purdue Polytechnic. He gave some great insights into their new ASRS system at their warehouse. It's such a cool system. It's going to be fully functional this fall. You're not going to want to miss that chat. And later on, we're going to have a conversation with Hoosier Feeder. Sarah and I had a great conversation with some brand new Hoosier Feeder employees. These are people who are just out of high school, who have been working with Hoosier Feeder for some time, and now they're full-time employees, and it's so exciting. If you are hyped up about graduation season and you want to feel really good about people fresh in their careers, just starting out, you want to stick around for that interview. And we're going to wrap up this episode with National Safety Month, courtesy of Conveyor and Caster. So buckle up. We are about to get down to business.
Sheri, I think I want to say it. We're cooking with gas.
We are cooking with gas.
Woo! Firing on all cylinders. Woo!
Fire in the hole.
Ready to roll. Woo!
We are. Let's rock and roll.
Like I'm Ric Flair. Woo! All right, so we want to dive into flexible packaging?
Let's do it.
All right, so where do we start? So my feature story on flexible packaging, taking a deep dive, looking at the consumer benefits, including convenience, looking at sustainability, and how OEMs and machine builders play a critical role in the success of flexible packaging, is available now on packagingoem.com. Check it out, read it, check out Packaging OEM's social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, and Instagram. There's graphics and quotes and information all about flexible packaging. Okay, Sheri, now that that's on the table, let's talk about why is it booming. So Research and Markets recently put out a new report saying flexible packaging is going to grow 4.8% in the next 9 years. That means it'll be at over a $353 billion market by 2034. Let's just sink in for that. Huge. And again, that's projected numbers from Research and Markets. So in our story on packagingoem.com, we dive into formats for flexible packaging. We dive into materials. We talk about plastic, foil, variety of polyethylene, LLPDE, things like that. And the pouch takeover. Sheri, I've got one right here.
Oh, really? Do you?
Oh, look. And I just want to say out of the gate, none of these products that are featured in this episode are sponsored.
Not a
These
sponsor.
are products Not sponsored. These are products that were in Sarah Wynn's pantry, available for the Downtime podcast. Got it?
Got it.
So we have a nice little stand-up pouch here, nice little benefits. So we speak in our story for flexible packaging to 3 different professionals in the industry. I'll set the table with this, including Mondi Group Jackson's Kristen Euler. She's the director of marketing and communications. We talked to Bonco Products president Keith Smith, who they focus a lot on medical and healthcare flexible packaging. And we also talked to Jake Branyan, R&D at Topin, formerly Sonoma. So now we bring this little pouch back in. Cute, right? Nice and eye-popping. I love these colors.
Yeah, me too, right?
So Kristen Euler had a nice point, and she said, a flexible pouch can be considered to be a little billboard on the shelf. It sits there, it stands up for itself, just like we do. We stand up for ourselves.
All the time.
And the more likely a consumer is to grab a product, including a nice little stand-up pouch like this, the more likely they are to put in their cart, complete the sale. So, Sheri, I mean, we have a lot to dive into. This is a deep story. It's about 1,800 words. Do you have any thoughts or questions off the top?
Yeah, I love the idea of flexible packaging being kind of its own, advertisement as you're going through the aisles and seeing these cool packaging. Tell me a little bit about the advantages of flexible packaging. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so a big advantage is sustainability. It uses less materials. It's also easier and cheaper to transport than rigid packaging, like bottles or jars or cans, like this one. They're heavier, more expensive to transport. The other big factor with flexible packaging is consumer convenience. We'll talk back to Kristen Euler again for a second. She mentioned that millennials and Gen Z, and I self-identify as a millennial. I am a millennial for everyone that's listening. We grew up with flexible packaging. Think about Capri Sun. Handed a Capri Sun as a kid, things like that. So consumer convenience is a big factor. Another one I'll bring in is this example of a little fitment pouch. This is an applesauce. Again, not sponsored. This is from Sarah's Pantry. And it has a little top up here. I guess I'll eat this after. And you can unscrew it. Whoop. And then when you're done, you can put it back on, put it back in the fridge. Consumer convenience. Really helping people's lives, make people's lives easier. Think about the packages you have at your house, Sheri. Is there something that you use a lot that's convenient? And a good example in the flexible packaging story is Daisy sour cream. So it has a stand-up pouch. Well, it sits on the cap. And Jake Branyan from Topin talks about how it actually didn't take away from Daisy's market share at all. It expanded the shelf space because it made it easier for consumers to use.
Yeah, I imagine when you think about the size of a container of sour cream as opposed to a pouch, that's a much bigger, size in terms of shelf space.
Yeah, and again, back to consumer convenience. We can just squeeze it, I don't know, put on your baked potato, put on whatever, and put it back in the fridge. You don't have to get a spoon or a knife or anything out. Consumer convenience, nice and easy. We also talk about the barrier properties in our story when it comes to flexible packaging. And a good example of this, and we always bring it up, is coffee. So this is a nice example in that inside, and I'm not going to open this up, but it is with foil to protect the barrier of the product. Also, flexible packaging, nice in that it can take many forms. This is obviously a very soft product. This is ground coffee. So it just fills in here and it can stand up for itself. Again, always stand up for yourself.
Always stand up for yourself. That's the lesson we take away. And flexible packaging is convenient and good for consumers.
Any coffee advice?
Pace yourself. That's my advice. I think if you drink too much too fast, bad things happen. That's been my experience.
So we have that one, and we have another example of a stand-up pouch. This is Oats Overnight. Oats Overnight, if you're listening, I'm a huge fan. This is not sponsored, but I want you to know I love you. Nice little stand-up pouch. Again, this has barrier properties inside. This is a dry product. Helps maintain the product's shelf life and freshness. And another consumer convenient factor, people don't always think of this. Yeah, and a good example too is like a bag of shredded cheese. They have these little zippers at the top. You zip it on shut. You throw it back in your fridge, back in your pantry. So we have that here. And sustainability, I'll save our big finale. You know what it is, Sheri. The audience doesn't know yet. I'll save the last product for the end of my spiel about flexible packaging. Sustainability is a big factor. It's less material, it's less waste. It is tougher to recycle, and we address that in our story. There are other sustainability initiatives, including Topins and Viroflex. That is a curbside recyclable material that can be used for flexible packaging. And the most important thing we have to talk about are OEMs and how important, Sheri, they are in the success of flexible packaging, because these newer materials, they run different on machinery. So these OEMs are going in and tweaking machinery, helping it run the material properly. So without them, there would be no flexible packaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's just check my notes real fast. Again, I want to thank Mondi Group Jackson's Kristen Euler, Topin's Jake Branyan, Vonco Products Keith Smith. They all spoke with me for the story. I appreciate them. And consumer shift, we did address it a little bit. Gen Z and millennials growing up with flexible packaging. It's become a standard in our lives. You go to a store, you see flexible packaging on almost every shelf in some capacity. So now, Sheri, any other thoughts before we get to the grand finale?
No, I just want to bring it on. You know, I love what you're about to show us.
All right, all right, all right. So we also highlight, again, I'm going to say it over again, consumer convenient features and flexible packaging. And a great example of is what I'm about to show you. We mentioned it in our story very briefly, but here we have a party size Oreo pack. And this is a party size because it's always a party on the downtime. That's the only reason.
Downtime party for sure.
Because the downtime party don't stop.
That's right.
And so we have this here, and then really, so this is actually a combination of rigid and flexible packaging. Rigid being the container that actually holds the cookies, flexible being this outer package. We're going to focus on the outer package. Consumer convenience. Some might not realize this little, if I can get it. Whoa. Check that out. Wow, wow.
Well, huh? That's a flexible package.
Yes, and we want to seal it back up. Sheri, you had enough cookies. You don't want any more?
I'm good.
Guess what? Head it down, and we're good to go. Back into the pantry.
A combination of rigid and flexible, just like me. I mean,
Oh, da-dum-dum.
good stuff. Good stuff.
So, yes, the flexible packaging story is up now, packagingoem.com, a deep dive into flexible packaging. We're highlighting, again, Kristen Euler, Jake Branyan, Keith Smith, on our social media pages. We'll share some from the downtime as well. We'll share the link for the story. And Sheri, thank you so much for listening, coming to my flexible packaging, I don't want to say TED Talk.
Yeah.
How about my fireside flexible packaging?
Your fireside chat for flexible packaging. I love it. Absolutely. You know I'll come to all of your fireside chats, Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So, one thing, if you've been following us for a little while, that you know about us is that we love to talk about new engineers, new tradespeople in manufacturing. We love our recent grads. We love to talk about how engineering is facing a labor gap. But I don't want to just harp on the fact that engineering is facing a labor shortage, because that doesn't solve anything. If we keep looking at the statistics, and if you want the numbers, Boston Consulting Group says that for the next 10 years, I think it's between 2023 and 2033. So we have up until 2033, 1 in 3 engineering jobs will go unfilled in the US. Those numbers are staggering. So what's the solution? A lot of colleges and universities are very mindful of that. Trade schools are very mindful of this. Even high schools that have a focus on more trade-based education. These places are really being mindful of that labor shortage. One thing that I wanted to highlight in this week's episode is Purdue Polytechnic. Shout out to Purdue Polytechnic. They have just done a partnership with Element Logic, a company that does automated warehouse systems, for an ASRS system. If you don't know what that is, it's an automated storage and retrieval system. It's part of Purdue Polytechnic Institute's Smart Learning Factory. I had a conversation with Steve Music. He is the Smart Manufacturing Engineer over at Purdue Polytechnic. He works over in the Smart Learning Factory over at Purdue. And he had a lot of great insights into the ways that this new ASRS system, which will be completely installed by the end of the summer, will really reshape the ways in which Purdue students, Purdue engineering technology students, are going to interact with a factory. The factory, as it currently is, has everything from PLCs to CNC machines to a foundry in the basement. So this is just the next step on that journey to give students sort of the full experience of working in a factory setting, in that industrial setting where they will know how to do everything from working a CNC machine to logistics and warehousing, how to operate this sort of ASRS system that they have, how to operate AMRs as well, because they are looking into that investment for AMRs to move pieces and parts around their smart factory. I think it's so cool. I think y'all should have a listen to the interview. So here you go. Here's Steve Music from Purdue.
I am here today with Steve Music. He is the Smart Manufacturing Engineer with the Smart Learning Factory at Purdue Polytechnic. Thank you so much for joining me today, Steve.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is an exciting new addition to the Smart Learning Factory. This is an automated storage and retrieval system at the factory. Tell us a little bit about how the ASRS works and how this sort of partnership with Element Logic made this happen.
Absolutely. So just a little background about the lab as well. I don't know how much you may have seen or heard already, but at Purdue right now, we're in Purdue's newest building, and with that, our School of Engineering and Technology, we built 4 brand new labs in smart manufacturing. So we have our Smart Learning Factory, where I'm at today. We also have a continuous process lab, an industrial IoT/PLC lab, and then a smart foundry in the basement of the building. And really the goal of all this is to give students that exposure to an industrial environment and kind of the emerging technologies in manufacturing and in industry, but give them that exposure at the undergraduate level in classes. And so all of these facilities, they are industrial grade equipment, and we're particularly here in the factory, we are running this as a production factory where we are building product from beginning to end. And so the goal is that we would give students a snapshot of all the different facets in a manufacturing environment. So logistics and material handling, component manufacturing, assembly, data, and then also from the IT side, data science, cybersecurity, all of that. So in particular, kind of with the logistics warehouse that we got set up here, we wanted to be able to have a piece of the factory that caters to our industrial engineering students and our supply chain students. But then kind of beyond that, it will actually be a functional warehouse in that it will store goods and parts that will service the rest of the factory and the rest of our smart manufacturing labs here. So the way we're going to have this set up is we're going to have our auto store system, it'll be set up just behind me here. That will have roughly 100 bins for storing parts for the products that we build or for maintaining the equipment. And we can either retrieve parts from those manually, just like a regular auto store system would. But then we are also building in a additional transfer ports so that we can have bins being picked up by AMRs. And those AMRs then can automatically deliver parts to the assembly line or deliver parts ultimately around the building, including taking an elevator down to that foundry to be able to pick parts up and move them around. And so we really kind of wanted to give, create something that, where we have material flowing in and out and allow students then the opportunity to see what the latest technologies look like and then have the opportunity to optimize them. Most importantly, everything that we have up here, nothing is optimal or working efficiently. And so that is where incumbent upon them, the students, as they take classes, to start taking ownerships of pieces and parts and all this and try to optimize it, make it better, and add to it.
Absolutely. Would you say, because you've kind of like gone over kind of the whole like swath of manufacturing, does this give them access or sort of hands-on experience with everything from, like you mentioned, PLCs to like robotics when you have to work with an AMR? Like, kind of walk me through, a student can sort of access a whole like factory, it sounds like. Walk me through what that looks like from a student's perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. The goal is exactly that. We're trying to give them exposure to all the different areas, no matter what, whether they're mechanical or electrical or industrial or end up going computers, engineering, whatever it may be. Definitely give them that exposure to all of the different aspects here. Most importantly, to see how a modern, kind of factory of the future, how all of these things are interconnected and work together. Within classes, they have, we have, as we said, you have robotics, PLCs, conveyors, now an auto store, CNC, ton of, CNC and machine equipment. The goal is that we give students the exposure to this technology and let them work with it. Not just to train them on how it runs and how to operate it, but we let them, get that experience with operating it and the trade craft that comes behind all this too, so that as they are then actually get jobs as the engineers that are going to be installing and optimizing work on these systems, they have that hands-on experience of having done all this before. The goal is that, particularly here in the factory, our goal is that over the next few years as classes come online, a student could be in here, could be taking classes in here all 4 years. Sometime, starting off maybe almost as like an operator on our assembly line, but then by senior year, they're managing kind of a portion of it and working on projects in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, is that kind of, a part of Purdue's philosophy in terms of making sure that when an engineer like leaves the university, that they're prepared across the board to, kind of tackle very hands-on tasks when they go out into the careers?
So this kind of, and that brings up an interesting point, because actually at Purdue, we do have, we kind of have two separate divisions, if you will. We have our College of Engineering, which actually I'm a 2-time graduate of. My degrees are in mechanical engineering. And the College of Engineering tends to focus a little more on the theory and the design analysis. Again, nothing wrong with that. I loved every bit of that. But definitely a heavier emphasis on the theory, physics, first principles, the mathematics on all of this. Then our learning factor here, we're part of the Purdue Polytechnic College. And within that, we have our School of Engineering Technology. And our within engineering technology here, our focus is about a 50-50 blend of that theory and the hands-on applications. So, whereas, like in the College of Engineering, where I learned linear algebra just by, taking math classes. For example, here, students, they'll take robotics classes, take a robotics class, learn how to operate robotic arm, learn how to operate the teach pendant, everything like that. And then through that experience, back out the linear algebra and the math behind it all. So that is kind of, we have a differentiation there. Both approaches are fantastic. But yeah, definitely within our School of Engineering Technology and the Purdue Polytechnic in general, our slogan is officially, industry ready day one. Just based upon that, getting that hands-on experience in working in industrial environments before you graduate.
Absolutely. The new ASRS system that, I think it was just announced a couple of days ago. Are the students coming up in the fall going to be the first ones working on that? Are there already students who are experiencing the automated system in the warehouse?
Yeah, so that we're expecting the installation to finish later this summer. So our hope is that by the end of August, when the fall semester classes start, that will be up and running. I have a few student workers working with me this summer, so technically probably they'll get the first exposure to this, as they're just like me, will go through the trainings and how all this works and operates. But then, fall will be kind of when classes will be able to start utilizing it.
Thanks so much, Steve. That was such a great interview. Really appreciated you taking the time to walk us through the Smart Learning Factory at Purdue Polytechnic.
All right, Sheri, now we're going to switch gears a little bit, shifting lanes. We're going to talk about recent grads. You mentioned at the top of the episode, it is graduation season. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we spoke with 4 students who just graduated high school and now are full-time employees with Hoosier Feeder in Indiana, including Kaylin, Austin, Nathan, and Sydney. Sheri, do you have anything you want to add before we toss to our interview?
It was just so cool talking to these new employees, recent high school graduates, and I'm just so excited for their new careers. So yeah, let's have a listen.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we highlight the importance of trade school.
Absolutely.
Some of these students had never welded until a few years ago, and now are full-time welders. How important trade school is. I want to emphasize that.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah, we talk a lot about colleges and universities like Purdue, but what if that's not your career path? What if you are a hands-on learner? I think that getting that sort of training, as quickly as you can in high school is really valuable. So we love that.
Okay, let's take a listen.
Do y'all just want to go through and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll jump right in.
You're up.
Hi, I'm Austin. I'm 18 years old. I don't know.
Are you new to Hoosier Feeder, or how did you join the company?
I was an intern with Newcastle Christian in the welding program, and then I got hired on for full time.
Great. All right. Next person.
I'm Nathan Carmichael. I'm 18 years old. I did the same thing as Austin, went through the welding program, and then as an intern, got hired on here, and that's about it. I'm Nathan.
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 I'm Sydney Martindale. I'm 18. I did the same thing they did. I went through the Newcastle welding program and got hired on as an intern. Now I work full time.
I'm Kaylin Reeves. I went to Newcastle for their engineering program and did Hoosier Feeder half part of the time. I now work full time in the typical department at Hoosier Feeder.
Great. Well, first of all, congratulations, everybody. Like, super happy for you that, you're starting your careers. It must be like a really exciting time for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we'll give you a little background about our show and ourselves. So my name is Sarah Wynn. I'm a senior editor for WTWH Media. My specific publication is packagingoem.com. I focus on machine builders, manufacturers. I've actually written about Hoosier Feeder before, about the flexible pouch system. We met your team, Sheri and I, back in March at one of the events.
Yeah, we were at Pack Expo. Yeah, I'm Sheri. I'm Sheri Kasperzak. I'm the managing editor for automation and controls here at WTWH. The most relevant publication that I run is plant engineering. We do a lot in the manufacturing space. So yeah, really interested to hear about your experience with the internship and kind of where you see your career going at Hoosier Feeder.
I'll just kick it off really quick and I'll throw it out to anyone who wants to respond. What made you decide to stay at Hoosier Feeder after graduation?
It's a really good place to work. A lot of great people here. That you do something different almost every day. It's not the same thing. It's just a great place to be.
I agree with that. Like, it's a really good environment to work.
Do you have a favorite part of the environment, or what do you like about it?
You be yourself. There's no pressure anywhere. You just do your own thing, and as long as you are respectful and honest, you'll and have a will to learn, you'll be fine.
Have you worked on any of the machines thus far, or do you have one you'd like to work on?
I currently, most of the time, I build ultimate feeders, which feed like Eggo waffles. You built some that run those, hot dogs, stuff like that. I worked on a trash bag feeder, some other things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, did you have sort of any like people that you knew growing up that were like into manufacturing, into that industry? And if so, like, who kind of inspired you? And if not, what kind of drew you into this field?
I'm interested about so far. Somebody else got to talk.
Here, pause 1 second. I'm going to clear this so you guys can see. Sorry, we've got a notification up here. I
Oh, okay.
want them to be able to see you. Okay.
My dad had always worked on cars and stuff. I grew up around that, so I've always been interested in this type of work field. But I never really was interested in welding until about 3 years ago, when I joined, thought about joining a welding program, and then when I joined it, I just fell in love with it, and it led me down this career path.
Can I ask what was it that made you fall in love with it? I mean, you didn't even weld a few years ago, and now here you are, full-time employee. How did that happen?
I think it's self-rewarding,
Mhm.
knowing that you can do this and knowing you can put stuff together and figure things out and doing it yourself.
I love that.
So, what do you think that you studied like in high school that kind of made going into this field a bit easier for you? Were there any special classes you took, or any things that you studied that you really feel are like helping you now that you're in the workforce?
For me, I did a lot of engineering classes. That really helped me in my department. It's more of applied engineering, and I have now grown and can also design things and then make it become an actual component to a feeder or something like that.
Absolutely. Very cool.
What education have you received so far at Who's Your Feeder? Is there a training program, and how are you guys onboarding now from being high school graduates to full-time employees?
Have you trained for your Austin?
How do you train?
Yeah, what's your training experience been like?
Well, my training experience, my brother worked here, so I pretty much trained with him, did a lot of stuff he did, and then kind of just went on my own and kind of working in my own area, doing basically the same thing, just doing it by myself instead of him watching over and helping me.
Can
Cool.
you explain how your brother, did he impact your career choice to join Who's Your Feeder?
Yeah, I really didn't have a lot of interest in it, and then he showed me some pictures and videos of the stuff that he's done, and it kind of interested me. And then my senior year at the Career Center, Chris walked in and was talking about job interviews, and he offered me a job, and I worked here ever since.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to someone who's like in high school now, who may be thinking about manufacturing or even working for Who's Your Feeder? What sort of advice would you give them if they don't know where to start, or they don't know like what they should be like focused on in terms of studying, or like things that they should be really thinking about in terms of their career?
Definitely pay attention in math class.
Yeah.
Pay attention in math class, and like if you are wanting to go for engineering or manufacturing, take more applied engineering or manufacturing classes. That'll kind of give you a step up. And then if you have a chance to go to a career center anywhere, like welding or CNC machining and engineering, definitely take those, because that'll help you a lot too. And just learn all you can, really.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you.
Could you talk about your decision to go to the Career Center, or what inspired you to take that path?
I don't really know. I really wasn't interested in welding career center until I saw it and joined. I had a friend in the welding class, and he was telling me how great it was and how I should join. So I signed up for it and got into it. And it's brought me to where I am here today. I did some TIG welding while I was in there, and brought me to Who's Your Feeder. I came here last summer and got a job interview and was hired, and just that's how I got here and how it's affected my career path.
Would you recommend like a career center or trade school education to your friends, your family, based off what you've accomplished thus far?
Definitely. It definitely has brought me a lot farther than if I wouldn't have gone to that career center.
It's the hands-on learning that really benefits, especially me personally. The hands-on learning and being a part of not just being something on a computer, but actually being able to hold it in your hands and say, "Hey, I made that product," or "I did that." And
Or like you don't sit in a classroom all day, like you go out and you actually learn and you do the things that you're gonna do like in your career.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a very hands-on approach, and it's a different way of learning. And you mentioned, bringing machines and products to life. Do you have a favorite that you've worked on thus far?
Definitely the trash bag figures.
Yeah.
Trash bag. That bowl was huge. You could literally sit down in it, and you had to sometimes to get the belt in there. You had to sit down in it, and you had to push it down into the right slot so we could get the bolts and nuts in there, hold it together. And the conveyor was huge too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So we were talking about trade schools, and it seems like there are fewer trade schools now. There seems to be a more focus on higher education. What is your take on trade schools themselves? Like, do you feel like it's just worth it to just go into the workforce and learn how to do it, or do you think that there's value in things like trade schools?
I think there's value in both. Like, it just depends what you want for yourself. Like, some people, they want to go in the workforce and they want to move up that way. And other people, they want to go to school and they want to learn through, like, school books because they learn better that way. So I guess it just depends on your learning style and what you prefer to do.
Sure, that makes sense.
The trade schools have actually gotten me to go see many different companies and seeing which ones I might be interested in, what field I might be interested in. That's actually what got me this job here, is by touring with that trade school and seeing how this company works and how everything works here.
Awesome. Thanks.
Kind of to tie it all in, now that you're here, you graduated, congratulations. Do you have any advice would you give any advice to the person you were a year ago, knowing they were moving into this manufacturing field? Would you do it differently? Anything you might add?
I don't think I'd do it any differently, but I guess,
Learn as much as you can.
yeah, learn as much as you can. And,
Don't take it for granted, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for help.
Have a good attitude and effort and willing to do stuff like that. Put in effort.
I think that's all advice that everyone can take. I think that's good advice for everyone. So that's awesome. Very cool. Well, again, congratulations on your new roles and on your recent graduation. And thank you all so much for taking some time to chat with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again to Hoosier Feeder for letting us speak to their new employees. Again, that is Kaylin, Austin, Nathan, and Sydney. We have photos, unique photos of us doing our virtual interview, Sheri. We're going to have those on the Downtime social media pages, so take a look at those. And again, stressing the importance of trade school. Sheri has brought it up in the past. She had a great interview with Aaron Prather. You can listen to it on our previous episode. How trade school can really lead to outstanding careers and how important it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just getting that sort of hands-on training is invaluable. So thank you all again to Kaylin, Austin, Nathan, and Sydney. It was so great chatting with you all. And congratulations on your new roles. Woo!
Way to go, class of 2025.
Amazing.
Nice.
So, as you may know, June is National Safety Month. And hey, we were talking about last week's episode, which I highly recommend you go and listen to or watch. And you can do that on SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube. Or now you can go over to planengineering.com, controleng.com, or packagingoem.com and listen right on our websites there. Give us a listen, give us a follow on LinkedIn, follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube if you like the content that you're hearing now. But in last week's episode, we did something a little different, kind of fun, kind of horrifying. We read some Reddit workplace horror stories as part of National Safety Month. And this week, we are going to switch it up a little bit and do a feature. Do you want to kick us off, Sarah?
Yeah, so I mentioned a few weeks ago my visit to Conveyor and Castor. I had a great time. I'm working on that story now. They had an interesting post I wanted to highlight this week, and it's about their machine guarding. It helps reduce injuries, prevents accidents, keeps everyone safe. It's an important feature that we don't always think about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Safety is so important. I think as we've discovered from those Reddit stories, you got to keep yourself safe. You've got to keep your employees safe. So we love to hear it. Way to go, Conveyor and Castor.
Yeah, it creates a barrier between machinery, robots, robotics, etc. Very important. Conveyor and Caster recently shared these images of their machine guarding on LinkedIn. Check out Sarah Wynn's LinkedIn. That's me. I reposted what they had to say. All right, Sheri, it seems that we've come to the end of another magnificent episode of the Downtime.
It's always too fast. So, Sarah, would you say that you're probably going to be having a bite of lunch from some flexible packaging when we wrap up?
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Yes. What do I have here? Oh, it's a little Go-Gurt Simply. Yes, from a vertical form fill seal machine. I will be having that, and I'll be having this little Uncrustable in a pillow pouch.
We love it.
Again, none of these products are sponsored. These are things that I had in my house that we could use for the downtime to talk about flexible packaging. So make sure to check out the deep dive into flexible packaging at packagingoem.com, Sarah Wynn's social media, the Downtime, Packaging OEM social media. It's going to be everywhere, everywhere.
We love it. We love to see it. So, yeah, that sounds great. And I think we have reached the end of another episode of the Downtime. So, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, I think we're going to have some Oreos from flexible packaging, flexible and rigid packaging.
They smell really good.
I'm so jealous. I'm sitting over here without my Oreos.
I think I have more than enough for us, if only you were here.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to eat a party pack, but whatever.
So, from both of us out of the Downtime, which is to say, me and Sarah, thank you so much for spending your downtime with us, and we can't wait to catch you in the next episode.
Sheri, thank you for signing us out of the Downtime. I got to go eat these Oreos. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, y'all.